Hello there fellow humans and welcome to this video, and today we're gonna go through my top 5 best tanks in World of Tanks Blitz. Let's get into it. So, and now we're at number 5, and the way I pick these tanks is basically by how fun they are, how well liked they are, and how good they actually are. So I'm probably not gonna include tanks like the Chimera, because even though they have high win rate, they are bad. We start off at number 5 with the Dracula. This tank is loved by everyone that has it and hated by everyone that doesn't have it, simply because it is speed. And that is what is amazing about this vehicle. It is a tier 7, one of the tier where the most overpowered and the best tanks are sitting at, so that we're going to see a few more tier 7s in this list as well. But no spoilers so far, stay tuned. The reason the Dracula is on this list is quite simple. It is the Dracula. It came out in 2016, I personally got it for free. But now, since it's not for free anymore, and since everyone has to pay for it, a lot of people are willing to spend big bucks to obtain this vehicle. But why? Why would you want to have this tank, which came out in 2016, hasn't really been adjusted much? Well, the reason is, it's still very, very good. It hasn't been power crept even a bit. It is still an absolutely amazing tank. You don't have the best of guns. Basically what you have is you have a tier 8 medium tank gun on a tier 7. So that is pretty good there as well. You don't have a lot of armor, but the Dracula has the one special feature that it can repair its tracks on its own without a repair kit, which makes it very, very good and makes it a lot better than the other tanks, because you don't need to waste your repair kit that often. And for example, when you use your mobility, you can simply not give a shit about whatever you're doing and get out of situations without a problem. Then on the tanks you would be stuck. Now we're here at number 4, and it is the Annihilator. As I said, there's going to be a few tier 7s on this list, and number 4 is the Annihilator. Now you may ask yourself, why is it only number 4? Because perception doesn't equal performance. This vehicle is good for a number of reasons. It's a 3-shot gun with only 13 seconds of reload time. It has decent enough armor to bounce a Ferdinand. However, the penetration on the vehicle is absolutely horrible. So that is a very, very big downside. That's what prevents this vehicle from going higher on the list. Also, it has horrible mobility, which is also not good. And the problem of the 3-shot gun is that you have to hit those 3 shots first. Most of the time you're gonna hit 2. 3 is if you get lucky. But other than that, besides those clear flaws of the vehicle, and obviously because this burden exists, you will not always hit all 3 shots, because the second shell always has a bloom to it. So you're gonna have a problem with that. But even though it has those horrible downsides, it is a very, very good vehicle for exactly that reason. Once it works out, once you do hit all 3 shots, you can do a substantial amount of damage and completely destroy the enemy team. It's sort of like a T-57 Heavy at tier 7, but it's actually good. And now we're here at number 3, and it is the Chieftain Mark 6. Who would have thought that? Now normally you would expect me to put the T-125 somewhere here on this list, but I'm not going to do it this time. The simple reason is, even though the T-125 is per se the better vehicle, because it is more forgiving and better for newer players, the Chieftain Mark 6 is on this list because I'm talking about the best tanks, as in not best performance, but as in also most enjoyable and the best to play. And since this tank is a premium vehicle and you can earn a lot of credits with it, I will put it above the T-125 for this list, simply because it can earn you more credits, which is definitely worthy of a spot here. Because you don't want to put the E5 on here, because while the E5 is a tad bit better than this tank, it doesn't make you credits, therefore it's a bit less enjoyable in that sense. And that is why Chieftain Mark 6 is on this list. And also, why is this tank on this list? Well, it's quite simple, because it is insane at basically every aspect. It has a very accurate, very quick firing British 120mm gun with hash, so you can hash the side of pretty much any tank in the game. and you can dish out a lot of punishment that way, which is also going to give you more courage, which the T125 does not have. The reason why I always say the T125 is better is because it's easier to play. It is better for the average player. But if you're a good player, if you want to get the maximum out of your gaming experience, then the Chieftain Mark 6 is certainly the tank for you. Even though it costs a lot of credits, a lot of gold, I should say, it is a better vehicle. Now, I died here, but in all this time, I did about 3,000 damage, and that is a lot. So, that is why Chieftain Mark 6 is on this list. It has insane gun, it's really fun to play, and it makes you a lot of credits as well. But, if you're a newer player, if you start in the game, go for the T125, that one is the better tank for a new player. But this tank is on the list because it deserves a mention as well, because it's awesome, because it makes you a lot of credits, and it's British. And now, since the T125 didn't get on the list simply because of its horrible credit coefficient, let's put on the Mini E5, which is the T54E2. It's a Tier 8 American premium tank. And why is it on this list? Well, it is at Tier 8, where you have a lot of funny little tanks you can play with, like the FE301, for example, that can't pen you because you have insane turret armor. You also have amazing gun depression, so you can play every single ridgeline in the game without a problem, like this. Your weak spot on top is very, very small, so if you angle it correctly, if you wiggle like a god, then no one will ever be able to penetrate you, and they can't do shit about you. You also have a very competent gun, 8 seconds reload time, which is about the same as the E5. However, you do have only 310 alpha damage, but that doesn't really matter. It's 2 tiers lower, so that is obviously justified there, because if you would have 400 alpha damage, that would be a bit too much, and most of the 400 alpha damage tanks at Tier 8 suck anyways. Now, we switched sides here. I took a lot of damage, but that is okay as long as we can stay alive. Sometimes you have to trade hit points for position, because if I would have stayed over there, I would have died now. Now, the biggest problem here is the SU. He's dead, and boom. Now, also another great thing about this tank is the mobility. It is a heavy tank, but it performs more like a medium tank in close quarters. It doesn't have the highest top speeds, obviously, because it is a heavy tank, but being an American heavy tank, it is basically a heavium in every sense of the word, which means that you can play with the mediums, you can play with the heavies, you can be versatile, you can do anything, all of that while earning a lot of credits and while also looking quite stylish, I might add. Even though the premium camouflage for this tank kind of sucks, it is still a very cool vehicle. And yeah, we're gonna lose here, but do not forget, this tank is amazing, and the next time you have the chance to pick it up, go for it, because this is one of the premium tanks that is absolutely worth picking up, even if you don't intend on spending a lot of money on the game. And that is what this tank is number 2, because it's the best Tier 8 tank in the game, it makes you credits, and because you can not win situations like this. But that's not the point. That's why this tank is number 2 on this list. Let's move on to number 1. Yeah, I'm just gonna leave this in, like, they're 5 people, they can't kill me. That's how good this tank is, just get it. Now, we're out here at number 1, and, well, there was never a doubt about it, was there? That the number 1 best tank in WoT Blitz is, without a doubt, the Smasher. Because while the Annihilator can't do things like, for example, this thing can, and that's what makes this tank so great. It is a Tier 7 vehicle, which basically performs like a Tier 8 in every way. It is challenging to play, that is correct. Just like the Chieftain Mark 6, it is challenging to play. So it is not the easiest tank to play, but we're talking about the best here. Not the easiest to play, not about the best for new players. Talking about the best overall, in terms of fun, performance, and how much does the enemy hate you when you use it? That's pretty much that. And that is the determining factor of why the Smasher is number 1. Because you can absolutely nuke people. While the Annihilator is good at dealing its 600 damage sometimes, this tank can do 960 damage reliably against pretty much half of the tanks that it faces. Obviously, it doesn't have the best of mobility, and it doesn't have any sort of armor or gun depression, but it doesn't need that. Because sometimes you have a tank that has one such outstanding feature that it compensates for the rest. And while it is not a fast vehicle, and I don't like it particularly much for that reason, the gun makes up for all of that by simply being able to dish out 1000 damage bombs to Tier 6 and Tier 7 tanks, and also even Bor 6 and a lot of the other Tier 8s as well. Now, as you can see, it doesn't work all the time, but then again, it's the Smasher. I'm on 2.5k damage right here. I haven't even done anything so far, and yeah, this is what makes this tank just the best tank in this game. It doesn't matter what the enemy does, you can do that. And the reason why this undoubtedly has to be number 1 is because it has impact like no other tank. You can't have as much impact with any other tank that you can with a Smasher. Because when you can take out a Tier 8 tank destroyer with one shot and get called a noob by the enemy team for just being blatantly overpowered, then that is the tank that has to be the number 1 on this list. And because it is a collector tank, there is also no chance of it ever being balanced. So the Smasher is number 1 on this list, deservedly number 1 on this list, and without horrible disappointment, that is it. Thank you very much for watching. See you next one. Goodbye.